Yo, what's going on everyone? It's Brian and Jim here with DrinkABeerandPlayAGame, and today begins our look at the Capcom games. And we're starting off with my first selection, Mega Man 2.
Originally released in 1988, this game is known in Japan as RoccoW 2, Dr. Wily no Nezu. Ah! What?
Stop being racist.
I'm not being racist, I'm being a samurai.
Jim, you're no samurai, you lack discipline.
I do not lack discipline!
You lack much discipline.
How many Asian viewers do we have?
Not enough to matter. Please stay with us.
We're so desperate for viewers. Anyway, this was originally an NES exclusive, but it originally had ports and collections on the PlayStation, mobile phones, iOS. It was in part of the fucking Wily Wars on the Genesis Sega channel, and, you know, a whole bunch of other shit. It's been everywhere. This game is widely considered to be one of the best in the entire Mega Man series, if not one of the best games on the NES. To be fair, neither Brian nor myself are exactly Mega Man experts, so we're not going to have quite the nostalgia goggles that most people have, so let's see how this holds up today.
So graphically, this game encapsulates what I would call the Capcom style. You've got a ton of colors. All the sprites are, I don't know how to put this, but more kid-friendly, cartoonish, like kind of oversized eyes on some of the enemies, just goofiness, but it all looks really good. All the stages are appropriately themed for whichever Robot Master you've selected, and you know what, there's still a good amount of variation even though some of the enemy types tend to repeat themselves, especially during some of the later stages. The animations for Mega Man look even better than the first game, and all your different weapon powers are pretty awesome. But let's be honest, after you beat Metal Man, there's only one weapon you're using in this game. Am I right, Jim? Am I right? Go fuck yourself.
Hey! I was gonna agree!
Still.
Fuck!
So when it comes to scores, I gave this game an 8, and Jim gave it a 7. I actually prefer it a lot because I appreciate the variation in the levels and just the overall color schemes. Jim, he's a little bitch. Hey! As far as beer, I'm just going to add 1, because although there is plenty of enemy variation, some of the enemies repeat in levels that they really shouldn't.
The sound. It sucks, we gave it 2s, and beers, you need 6.
Jim, stop being a silly goose!
Hey, I'm so silly! Anyway, it's one of the most beloved soundtracks of all time, one of the best 8-bit soundtracks ever composed. It's a masterpiece. If we wanted to be nitpicky, we could say maybe there could have been more sound effects, but it doesn't matter. The music's top-notch, we had to give it 10s. When it comes to beer, you don't need any. Also, Brian wanted me to mention that he has a big stiffy for the Wily stage in the first Wily round.
Ow! Give this game respect!
No!
Dr. Wily Stage 1, it's the greatest goddamn soundtrack for any Mega Man game ever!
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's awesome. The control. This is an area where I see Jim and I again probably most crucified from our fans because while many people may feel that the Mega Man game controls are all perfect, Jim and I gotta disagree. The inputs are good enough, but we feel that the overall control scheme is just not as tight as we would like it to be. I mean, for one thing, the jumps sometimes are so goddamn pinpoint and we feel like we're doing the right thing and you'll get bullshitty falls from it. And the weapon selection is probably one of my biggest complaints, because why can't you just maybe have hit select and changed weapons versus going into the menu, going in, selecting? I know that's a more methodical way, but it slows down the action, and when you get back to it, it can really screw up the flow. So, putting all that together, we both gave it 7s. It's still well above average, and it's a game you can get through, but on a game that's already so goddamn hard, with so many enemies and such crazy platforming, even the littlest bit of lag really fucks you up. So when it comes to beer, I'm just gonna add 2, because we really think some people give this game too much of a pass for its control. It's definitely not perfect.
The gameplay is going to be a little tough because I'd probably be overstepping into originality a lot, so I'll try and keep this kind of simple. It's another Mega Man game where the basic point of it is you go through all the Robot Masters, and when you kill one, you get a special power, and you gotta use that special power to use it as a weakness against another Robot Master. And a lot of the fun of this game is figuring out which order to go in order to have the easiest time. If we had a complaint though, once you get the saw blades off Metal Man, you kinda don't really need any other powers. It's a little broken with how overpowered it is. I know a lot of people kinda hate this because let's be honest, it does break the game, but to us, it is kind of fun to have that advantage. Although, to be fair, once you get to the specific bosses, it doesn't really help as much, and maybe some of the wilies, blah, 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 blah. And it's just a better experience overall than the original Mega Man. It seems a lot more polished. So, with that being said, Bri gave it an 8, and I gave it a 7. I'm a little bit less patient in my old age for a game like this, but I can't deny how good of a game it actually is. And maybe I just gotta get good. And when it comes to beer, I'll just add 1 beer for that overpowered Saw Blade.
Well, if you've been staying with our channel, then you know for the past 2 months, we did all the WWF sequels. And I only bring this up because you know, when we do sequels, we're comparing it to the original game. And like Jim said, this is just another Mega Man game. Sure, there are new Robot Masters, and there's more of them, but other than that, the gameplay mechanics and most of the things stay the same. There are a few areas where we did see improvement. So the first thing is the use of this energy tank, which you can now store, and I think you can hold up to 4, which is such an improvement because this is the ability to restore all your life, which is huge in a game that's as tough as this, because you are going to get your ass kicked. And if you're as stupid as I was the first couple times playing it, you won't even realize what it was, and then you'll realize way later in the game and be more pissed at yourself. And the other big improvement we saw was the addition of these items. Now, they're aptly just named items 1, 2, and 3, but essentially these are power-ups that allow you to enhance your platforming abilities, I'll say. And some stages are absolutely required, especially item number 2. But this really opened up the abilities of the Mega Buster and what it could do, because when you need to shoot out like these floating platforms or the levitating platforms, it really changes the mechanics of the game and where you can explore and how you're going to navigate through a whole level. All in all, we both gave it a 4. We couldn't give it a ton of points, but that new mechanic for these items and, like we said, the E-Tank, that was new enough. And when it comes to beer, I'm just going to add 1 for Capcom not being able to come up with a better name than items 1, 2, and 3.
Alright, the replayability. Well, let's get some of the definites out of the way first. There's no multiplayer, there aren't any special endings or any kind. Basically, the replayability in this comes from going through the game and trying to use different weapon loadouts on all the different Robot Masters, or just trying to do all the trial and error within the game itself. Hell, you can even go back and just try and beat the game without using any of the special weapons. It's basically you can play the game how you want to play it, which is pretty cool. So long story short, we gave it 5s. There's definitely reasons to come back to this again and again, especially if you're a fan of the style of game, but if you're a newbie, it's going to take you quite a few playthroughs to really get through it all. And when it comes to beers, I'll just add 1 beer for the play as you want style.
Overall, when I first saw that we were going to have to do Capcom, my mind went right to Mega Man 2. It's definitely my favorite Mega Man game, easily for the NES. And you know what? It is great. I think one of the most obvious things that makes it such a standout is the soundtrack. And like Jim and I have said many times before, an amazing soundtrack will really stick with you throughout your life. It can forego gameplay and a lot of other things. But this game still holds up in pretty much every area. We're sure some fans will still think we underscored this game and it should have been perfect 10s, but let's be honest, given everything that we pointed out, especially like the OP Metal Man blades, this game has some faults. So we both gave it 8s. Well above average, but in both our eyes, it's not perfect. And when we combine all of our scores together, it rounds out to a 7.4. Like we said, we know a lot of fans will probably think it should have been higher.
I'm already hiding.
But let's face it, you guys know the way we score things. We tend to be a little bit more fair and unbiased, so you're not going to see just pure 10s out of us. Still, it is an amazing Mega Man game, and if you like the series, this is a must-own. So go out and get it.
The game has much honor.
Stop rocking discipline!
Damn it.
When it comes to beer pairing, I had to go with another obvious choice, and I had to go with the Arcade Brewery's Mega Milk. Obviously, the Arcade Brewery is a fan of 8-bit retro games, and the Mega Milk Oatmeal Stout is their little tribute to Mega Man. I've tried it, and it's actually pretty good. It's not the best oatmeal stout, but it's pretty solid. And it pairs really well with this game because you're going to want a beer that has a lot of flavor and a decent amount of alcohol like this does. That'll help you get through some of those later levels. It's not a beer you're going to be drinking a lot because you're going to be focused too much on the game. So grab a couple of these beers if you can still find them, and remember to drink your beers and play your games responsibly. As always, guys, thanks for checking out this video, and if you enjoyed it, make sure you give us a thumbs up, leave some comments, or better yet, why not subscribe? Till next time, guys, cheers.